Hello everyone, this is Aditi, and the title of my presentation is Emotive Machines and Mechanized Human. Uh, Through this presentation, I am trying to understand the relationship between the humans and technology, human emotions and technology, and the time of the in the time where we are living with emotional technology. How do we understand the concept of emotion itself, the concept of technology, and its relationship with the human? Or can we distinguish between the human and technology? These are some of the questions that I'm trying to look into um, with the help of the Philip K. Dick's work, who is a very famous science fiction writer, and his work has always been related to understanding the relationship between the real and unreal. Um looking at the different kind of existence in the times of the technology, I mean in the dystopic world, he actually tried to question what reality is for us, or for the time that we are going to enter into. I'm rather than going into most of his works, I'm actually choosing only one novel, that is his 1968 written novel, Do Android Dream of Electric Sheep? This novel has been adopted into adopted into many forms, but there are two major films. One is named as Blade Runner, and the other is named as Blade Runner 2049, which came on screen in 2017. uh, for me, for my purposes, I will be looking into the movie and the script, and the novel as well, both of them, only trying to find out the things that I'm trying to convey through the movie and the novel itself. um, the novel, I'm only talking about the broader outline of the novel, so that we can actually try to understand so that we can actually answer some of these questions. So the novel, which is set in a world which is actually destroyed by all the radioactive, which is destroyed by the nuclear war, and the people have stopped living on Earth. They have started living on Mars and some other planets. Um and There are replicants in this world who are slaves to the human. These replicants, who are these replicants? These replicants are bioengineered humans, who has enhanced strength and capacity so that they can work really hard in adverse situations, and they are slaves to the human beings. These replicants looks exactly like human. They have similar kind of feelings, similar kind of features. Um you cannot distinguish between who is human or who is android or replicant or uh, bioengineered slave, just by looking at it. So there is no difference between the both. In this world, there is no animals, because animals are extinct because of the nuclear war. So animals are considered as precious commodity. So if we look at this world of Philip K. Dick, we realizes, that uh, it is a world which is similar to us but really different from us, because this is really difficult to actually distinguish who is who. So these replicants, the bioengineered humans, they have started standing against their masters. They have started standing against the system, and they have started a rebellion. This Because the system, actually the police tried to actually reach to these rebellions and then retire them. They have fled to the earth, and where they are hiding. So the police department hire people who are called as hire people whose task is to retire these android and give them back to the company who made them. And these bounty killers are called as Blade Runner in both the movies. uh, if you look at the film and the way the film tried to actually look at the human emotions, this is a really interesting thing that will comes up with. So if we look at the novel, we will find out that these androids are more emotional or more humanized than human beings themselves, and human beings are less emotional, and they seems more machine like. So for example, the protagonist of the movie, who is also a bounty killer, and whose task is to retire the androids, his name is Rick Deckard, he kills a lot of androids, and this is his task, to kill a lot of androids. And it's exactly like killing the human beings. This is the same feeling because they're exactly this look same way, they're having the same, I mean, exactly the human beings. But he do not feel any emotional outbreak. He do not feel that he's a bad person. He has questions. He do not actually reflect emotionally on himself. uh, he do not feel about anything bad about the killing. But there are times when he actually, the only response that he have to this entire problem, or only response that he has to the entire situation, is is the confusion between who is human, who is not human, who is human and who is android. And sometimes he actually questions himself, if he is an android or he is a human, he doesn't understand. So this is a place where the emotions are externalized. I mean, the machines are having emotion, machines are really emotional, machine are machine can has the capacity to understand emotion. They can actually recognize the I mean, your emotion from your face, the way you act, everything is there. But humans are less emotional. Humans are more like machines, doing what they are set to do, living uh, in the worst condition, using the slaves, I mean, killing the slaves, doing all these things. So if you look at this and that time, you find out that emotion in this novel are externalized. And how these emotions are externalized, that if you, because you do not have empathy or sympathy left with the people around you, so and the animals are really extinct. So it is considered that if you have an animal, or you are a real animal, because they are also artificial animals, but if you have the real animal, this means that you have emotional capacity. This means you have empathy or sympathy. So that is why I mean, there is this one episode in the novel where Rick Deckard, when he kills four people, two couples, in which one is human, I mean, in both the couples, one person is human, another person is android. He faces this very he faces a lot of emotional things at the time, and suddenly he feels really bad about himself. And he started questioning his reality, if he's android, he's a human, if his wife is real or not real. And to feel I mean, to just feel more emotional, or to just feel more human, he goes to a shop and give down payment for an animal, and a real animal. So this is how you see that in a world, in a dystopic world which Philip K. Dick creates, there is a lot of tension between the real and unreal. There is a lot of tension between finding out who is real, who is unreal, uh, what is the difference between virtual and real. This is something that we also uh, face these days. I mean, if you are on social media, and if you are or on any dating site, you're talking to somebody, and then you realizes with time that the personalities, it's not like that the real self, the real and the virtual are connected in a way where real determines the virtual, or virtual determines the real. And this happens obviously. But because they are two different mediums, being in the real world and being in the virtual world are completely two different ways of being in a way. And that is why we generally find out that our virtual selves are very different from our real selves. Rather than going into what is real and unreal, I would rather say that it's not the question of real and unreal, it's the question of the medium. As we enter into the world of the social media or the virtual reality, we become something that this medium allows us to become, because there is no touch, there is no smell, which is very, very much part of the real world. And now you have to be in a world where everything is going through maybe a screen, through your fingers or emojis. And in such a world, in such a medium, you actually become something else, because of the things that is being provided to you. But Philip K. Dick actually take this problem to another level. He says, okay, maybe there is a difference between the virtual and the real, and you can see it. Okay, maybe you can, in a way, maybe there are some features through which you can actually differentiate. Okay, I'm a this kind of person on social media, and I'm a this kind of person in real world. Maybe I'm very introvert in the real world, but I become very extrovert on social media. Maybe I'm very uh, reserved in my real life, but on social media I'm very much a different person. But Philip can take it to the another level, where he says that which I mean which happens in the movie. I mean, the second movie of second adoption of the novel Blade Runner 2049, where this Blade Runner named Joe find out a body of a replicant who is pregnant. And the question becomes more confusing. How is this possible that a replicant becomes pregnant? I mean, the replicant has this capacity to reproduce. How do you now differentiate um, between the real and the virtual? Okay, maybe this is true that there are two different mediums, but there is this time when both of the things mixed up with each other. So now, what is the boundary through which we differentiate the both? I think this kind of question can be becomes actually, which also uh, opens up the complexity of the unfolding of the life in the world that we are entering, in the world of the emotional technology, in the world where our which where we actually our connection to the other people, our connection to everything is actually mediated by the machines. A machine is not as something uh, which is some unanimated object. Machines as something which has their own life. They provide life to the people. They do different things. They provide different ways of the being. So for example, if we look at the way if we look at this particular episode, which is in Black Mirror, maybe the season fifth, first episode, Striking Vipers, which actually goes into the same line where Philip K. Dick is taking us to. I mean, his novels adoption is movie adoption is taking us in Blade Runner 2049. That how is this possible that replicant get this replicant gets pregnant, or she has this capacity to reproduce, and where are all these children who are being reproduced in such a way? This similar kind of complexity we see in this episode of Black Mirror called Striking Vipers, where their two friends were two male friends, and they started playing a video game. And after some time, I mean, in this video game, the one friend who is he's playing as a woman, and another friend is playing as a man. And after they, in this virtual world, they started having um, sexual attraction. They started having um, I mean, they started having a relationship which is completely different from the real world. So, in the real world, this one person is married to a woman, but in the virtual world, he's having a completely different sexual life with the man who is in the body of a woman, and which becomes a really very it becomes really complicated for his life and the for life, because when in the real world he tries to touch or kiss his friend, he's not capable of doing that, but he's actually having a very interesting sexual life on the virtual platform. And it becomes really complicated that how do we actually understand this different and the new emotions that this that the that are coming to us, rather than saying that we already have the categories to define these things. I mean, obviously we have so many emotional responses that already exist in the arena, I mean, in the world that we live. But I think with the technology, the life that we are entering into, the life that we are um, the life we are that we are entering into, the new way of beings, the new way of world that we are entering into, it is also posing questions to the already existing categories of emotion, is also posing question already existing definitions of the emotions, the definitions of how do you actually um, feel the love when you do not actually touch the object of your love? How do you actually feel the intimacy when you cannot actually uh, touch this person, you cannot have the physical intimacy? So which is also a very important part of which can be seen in Spike Jones movie Her, where uh, this person, this central character falls in love with a computer program called Samantha, and then it's really difficult for him to actually understand what's happening to him, or the Samantha's response, which seems really humane, which seems like it doesn't feel like that uh, she's just a machine. So uh, how do we actually now understand the distinction between human and machine? How do we actually differentiate that, okay, this is human, and this is machine. Can we actually uh, make a distinction between, or a binary between, that there is this human and the machine? So I would like to actually, for understanding this concept itself, the relationship between the human and technology and the human and the machine, I'm trying to understand them through Simondon's work, the French philosopher Simondon's work, where he says that we shouldn't understand that there is this relationship between the machine and human as the relationship between a subject or an object. That humans, they create machine for some particular purposes, and then the for particular utility, and the task of the machine is to just uh, finish this task. It's like if you are having a problem in something, then then you create a machine to solve that problem. He says you cannot understand the relationship between the human and machines as such. He says that any tool, any machine, any technology, it exists in relationship with another tools, another machines, another technologies, and this and relationship with the human beings, and the relationship with the environment in which these human beings and these other the machine with whom with this tool or this machine is interact with, and the material it respond to. So if you look at the machine or the technology or any tool, it exists in assemblage, it exists in an ensemblance, it exists in relationships. There is no machine out of context. You cannot send hammer to the Mars and predict that the task of the hammer on the Mars will be the same as it is on the Earth. It is not. It will become something else. It will be of completely different use according to the context that Mars provides it. So similarly, technology and human being is not like two different spheres of life where humans are using technology. It's not like that. The technology and human being are in a complex relationship where uh, technology provides different ways of being. It creates a completely different world. I mean, look at the world that we are living in. I mean, in the process of I mean, dealing with the problem of the pandemic, we're in a world where we are completely on social media. The world is completely right here on your laptop, nowhere else. And this purpose of the machine, maybe it was this capacity was always there, but this purpose of living a life, a complete whole life, your love life, your academic life, your professional life becomes possible not because the man has thought that we'll do it someday. It becomes that machine creates its own purposes also, and then this purposes is used by human beings. So it's not like that human provides purpose to the machine. It's a machine also, it provides different kind of purposes to human. It's not only that human has some capacity that he put into machine. He learned something and then he created into a physical entity called machine. It is the machine also that defines the relationship of the human with their minds in the coming time. So for example, uh, uh, when we were kid, we used to remember all these we used to have this landline phone, so we used to remember all the numbers in our mind, so that if we or write in a diary or maybe remember them, so that we can if we lost somewhere we can use these numbers, or if we have to dial the number we remember the number. But when we are growing up and we are having this smartphones and other things, we realizes that we have lost this capacity of remembering the numbers because we already have the phone numbers in our phones. And the generation which is now coming, the generation who are just three or I mean the generation after us, their mind do not have this their mind do not think it's an important task to remember the numbers. Maybe after some time they do not have this capacity also. But uh, it doesn't mean that they do not have the capacity. It means that the machine has provided them with a completely different, I mean, it developed a completely different capacity in them. uh, so the relationship between the machine and human is exactly similar. It's like uh, the humans created the car because um, they needed to go from one place to another swiftly. But the car, you just do not move the car on the free wheel. When you are moving the car, you also learn what else can be done with the car. You find out different purposes that car can give you. And you cannot actually work mm, in a car with the kind of free will because you have to actually work in the car with the mechanism of the car. So I think saying this, that the humans are emotional or the machines are emotional or there are dichotomy between the both, is not appropriate way of dealing with it. Rather, we can say that the machine and human are interdependent on each other, and they create a world together. Thank you.